Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's time for another ArtsyTrio collaboration with Bea Grob in Switzerland and Gina Ahrens over in the US. So this month Bea has created the Moodboard. It's number 20, can you believe it already? We've been doing it 20 months. So this is the one going into, from April going into May. So I'll turn off to my overhead camera, I'll show you the Moodboard that Bea's created for us, or curated for us this month, and then I'll explain what I'm going to do based on that Moodboard. So this is Bea's Moodboard for, well, April going into May. So she's called this one Think Pink. As you can see, there's loads of shades of pinks, there's deep purples, the violets, that kind of stuff in there. So, not my favourite colour, because I'm into my brushos at the moment. I'm going to do a kind of an abstract-y page using got rose red, which I'm hoping is going to give me some pink tones. I've got my violet because there are some blues in the skies up there as well, but I'm going to use this sparingly because it's quite a strong pigment. Just to throw in a little bit of variety as well, I've got a little bit of lemon just to lighten everything up a little. If I need to, I've got my pot of white gesso handy just in case I need to just kind of tone things down a little bit. So I'm using my big 12-inch by 12-inch scrapbook journal, which is what I've been doing most of the Moodboard ArtsyTrio projects in this year. So yeah, right, I'm going to get started then. So I'm going to get the rose red to start off with. I've not gessoed the page at all. I suppose I could gesso the page. That way it would move a little bit more, but no, I don't think I'm going to. So we're just going to do this in small amounts. So I'm going to just add a little bit. Actually, I should maybe just shake it up just to make sure that the pigments are all mixed up. Just do a little bit. It's like a pepper pot. Ooh, that's quite a bit there. That's a lot of pigment. I know it doesn't look like it, but you wait. There we go. So if I introduce quite a bit, so there's a lot of water on that surface. So what I'm going to do is just wiggle it about a bit, just to get a little bit of movement, and then I've just got a piece of kitchen roll. And I'm just going to let it sit for a second, just so it soaks into the paper. And then I'm just going to start dabbing up, just around the edges. That's it. So while that's still wet, I'm just going to introduce just a little bit of that lemon, just into the middle. And you see how it just starts to spread, just activates in that water. A little bit of that lemon up there and a little bit down here. And I might just add a little bit more water just over there, just to kind of activate that. There we go. So we get this really kind of beautiful abstract kind of background, which, because I've let it sit and go through and soak into the paper, because I haven't added any gesso to it, it's kind of turning a bit pink. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit and dry a little bit naturally. Just let that paper soak the water in a little bit. Just take up a little bit of that from that section there. There we go. Give it a second or two and then I can get the heat gun on it. Page is now dry, so you can see that rose red has kind of turned pinkish around there. So now it's time to add some of that darker violet colour. Now, because these are water activated pigment powders, they can also be used like watercolours. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a small amount, just that tiny little bit there, and I'm just going to put some water on my mat and then just activate. See, I told you that this colour was really strong. So what I'm going to do now is just add in some splatters. Just a few up there. And then just a few more just down here at the bottom. And maybe just a few kind of breaking in up there. And that'll do, I think. I'm happy with those kind of splatters in the background. I'll get this cleaned up, get my brush dry, and then I'll be right back. Right, so that violet has dried quite nicely now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a pigment colour that I don't use very often. In fact, I think I've only ever used it once. And that's going to be the black. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some of the black just down onto my mat there. Now bearing in mind, most of these pigment powders are made up of other colours as well. So I know in the black there's reds, there's also some blues. So I'm just going to grab some white gesso. I'm going to start mixing so it's immediately gone grey, but it's a kind of warm purpley grey. And the more water I kind of add to it, I can then add a little bit more of the pigment into it. And then give that a really good stir up. So because I've added some white gesso into this mix, it's also made it a little bit more opaque. Whoops. Starts flicking and throwing it around all over the place. Okay, so let me just, I've got quite a lot on the brush. I don't want a huge amount on the brush. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to just start to create kind of watery kind of figure. Now most of us, I know, are terrified or scared of drawing human figures because most of us think that we can't create or do figures that look like humans. Well, here's the thing, they don't have to. As long as you've got that kind of sort of shape, our brains are hardwired to see human shapes in almost anything, clouds, abstract shapes. So you can literally just do just the merest hint and suggestion of a figure, and your brain will kind of fill in the rest. I'm just going to add a little bit more water to that. So just with a real kind of economy of movement with your brush, you can create some really interesting kind of abstract human figures. Excuse me. I'll just quickly just give that brush a clean. Give this a blast. Those three figures are dry now, so I'm just going to create a little bit more of that kind of black pigment on my worktop, just with a little bit of water, just a little. You can see there's some brown tones in there now, and then I'm going to just add some darker kind of splatters into the mix. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of getting a bit of an 80s vibe from this. It's almost like the front cover of a Duran Duran album or something. Here we go. Again, get it dried off. Okay, so just to kind of finish off, I just want to introduce one more colour, and that's just kind of like a darkish green. So moss green. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that. Ooh, that's probably quite a lot. Onto the worktop. And hopefully, there we go. That's quite browny, isn't it? Well, that's okay. And I want a fairly kind of wet mix. So, and then a bit more water just here. I'm going to take my other brush, and all I'm going to do is just add some water here, and just let it flow. All I'm going to do is just kind of just let it ground the figures. I probably didn't need to add any water to the page. It's just soaking it up really, really nicely. And then I'm just going to drag back a little, just to kind of give the impression of little shadows. There we go. Right. Just get that cleaned up. And I'll just add a little heat just to dry that off. Okay, so that little bit of grounding is done. So the only other thing I've got left, I've got some orange. So I'm just going to take my brush and I'm just going to lightly kind of add just a kind of orangey haze up here towards the top. This bottle is made with brush hose and water, which I created some spritzers quite some time ago. A couple of years ago actually, and they're still going strong. Again, they can be used like watercolours. Just to add a little bit over there. Just as a sort of balance. I'm just blending it into that pink. There we go. And if the colour's a little bit strong, I would just come back in with a little bit more water and just blend it out a little. There we go. And the beauty about these kind of mediums when you're working in them is that you can just play about and experiment and see how they work together. Let me just quickly dry that off and I'll be back. Okay, so just to finish off, I'm just going to add some squiggly kind of black lines just to kind of finish off just to add in a little bit of kind of detail, just abstracty squiggles. Just to kind of break up that background. I think I'm done. So to me, I've got 3 kids walking home after a day of exploring, and that sun is just setting in front of them, casting that shadow behind them. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to put, I'll sign that, and then what date is it today? I have absolutely no idea. 25th, 26th, something like that. I'll just make it up. I'll just pretend it is. 25th of April. There we go. So there we have it. There is my mood board for my art journal page for mood board for April going into May. Think pink. There we go. You've got that lovely kind of pinky sunset there. So what I normally do with these is I normally try not to rip the page out of the book. Grab some glue and I will stick that onto the back. Look, Wednesday 26th of April. Oh. I knew it was something like that. I knew it was around about that date. One tends to lose track when one works for oneself. Right, so let's stick that down on the back there. That way, in future, I can just lift up the page and see what it was. And I've stuck it upside down, but never mind. So that's it for me then. So, like I said, that's my art journal page for Moodboard 20, curated by Bea Grob. So don't forget to pop down into the description area below this video and you can find the 2 links for Bea's version of her Moodboard 20 and also the one for Gina too. So that's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.